let me ask you something. What if the biggest source of your suffering, all the stress, all the worry, wasn't your job or your past or even other people? What if it was something way, way closer to home? Well, we're about to dive into a really profound insight shared by three of history's greatest thinkers that points to exactly that.
See, they all came to the same conclusion, which is both kind of terrifying and incredibly freeing. And it poses the big question for us today. What if your own mind is the prison that keeps you trapped and also the one and only key that can set you free?
So, where does a radical idea like this even come from? Well, it turns out many of the world's wisest minds came to realize that the main source of our suffering isn't what happens to us. It's actually generated from inside our own heads. To help us unpack this, we're going to be guided by three incredible sages from India. And what's just staggering is that they were separated by huge stretches of time, but their core message was pretty much identical. First, you've got Adi Shankaracharya, way back in the 8th century, a true philosophical giant. Then, fast forward 1,000 years, and you have Swami Vivekananda, who brought these ideas to the global stage. And then, much more recently, Ramana Maharshi, a modern sage. I mean, three totally different eras, three distinct people, all pointing to the exact same truth. So, what was this incredible truth they all pointed to? Well, it gets right to the heart of the nature of your mind and the very essence of who you think you are. Ramana Maharshi put this super simple but really deep question at the center of everything he taught. I mean, we live our entire lives lost in this constant stream of thoughts, right? But we almost never stop to ask the most basic question of all. Who is this I that's doing all the thinking? And that question points to the first major insight. You are not the anger. You're not the worry. You aren't even that brilliant idea you had this morning. You are the silent, unchanging awareness that just witnesses all those things. Think of it like a movie screen. You're not the drama happening in the film. You're the screen itself, the space where the whole show unfolds, totally untouched. Now, Shankaracharya actually gave a name to this feeling of being a separate, little, isolated self. He called it Maya. It's like this grand illusion, a trick of the mind that makes us feel cut off from everything and everyone. But he said it's just that, a trick of perception. To make this idea really clear, he used a great analogy. Imagine your mind and body are like a clay pot. It looks like there's space inside the pot and space outside the pot, right? But what happens when the pot breaks? Do the two spaces suddenly merge? No, of course not. It was always one single continuous space. The pot just created the illusion that they were separate. And listen to how Swami Vivekananda boils down the practical power of this shift. Your identity isn't some fixed thing. It's a story you're telling yourself, moment by moment. If you believe you're limited, you make yourself limited. But the moment you realize your true nature is this boundless awareness, well, that divinity starts to shine through. Okay, so this leads us to the next key teaching, and honestly, this one can be a little tough because it goes right after the story each of us calls me or I, our ego. Just think about this for a second. When you're in a deep, dreamless sleep, what happens? Your name is gone, your job, all your anxieties, your entire life story. It all just vanishes. And yet you are still there. You still exist. You wake up feeling refreshed. This is proof that your fundamental existence doesn't need that ego story at all. All right, so this is all fascinating, mind-bending philosophy, but how do we actually experience this for ourselves? How do we find that key to unlock the prison? Well, the great thing is the sages didn't just point out the problem, they gave us clear, practical methods to solve it. You know, most of us spend our entire lives chasing things outside of ourselves. More money, better status, the perfect relationship, hoping those things will finally bring us lasting happiness. But they never really do they? The sages all agreed. The only place to find what you're truly looking for is to turn your attention inward. So each sage offered a distinct path. Ramana Maharshi gave us self-inquiry, using that powerful question, who am I, to trace every thought back to its source. Shankaracharya taught discrimination, or neti-neti, which means not this, not this. You basically negate everything you are not until only the truth remains. And Vivekananda championed selfless service, a path where you dissolve the ego by focusing completely on helping others. Okay, now let's bring all of this home. how does any of this ancient wisdom actually apply to the stress of a deadline, a tough conversation, or just a totally chaotic Monday morning in our modern world? Think about it like this. Every single moment of anxiety you feel is caused by believing a thought about a future that hasn't even happened yet. And every moment of regret, that comes from believing a thought about a past that's already gone. The sages teach us that real freedom is found when you recognize that only this present moment of awareness is actually real. And the practice itself can be incredibly simple. You don't have to fight your thoughts or try to stop them. You just have to notice them. So when a worried thought pops up, instead of getting swept away in its story, you just step back and notice, there's a thought of worry. In that tiny little gap between you and the thought, that's where you're free. This quote clarifies such a common mistake we all make. See, the search for happiness isn't the problem at all. The problem is where we're looking for it. We're searching for it in our circumstances, when it is, and always has been, our very nature. Maybe the most powerful way to think about this is with this metaphor. Your thoughts, your emotions, your life events, they're like weather patterns. Storms, clouds, sunshine, constantly changing. But you are not the weather. You are the vast, silent, ever-present sky in which all of it happens. And so we end not with an answer, but with the beginning of your own investigation. This isn't just some dusty philosophical question. It's a tool. It's a practice. It's a doorway. The most radical thing you can do today is to find a quiet moment and sincerely ask yourself this question.